Hi everyone, and thank you very much. So, as you mentioned, I'm Tara Anderson, and I've titled this, It All Started with a Dog. So that'll make more sense in a few slides. So a little bit about me. I am a product manager at 3D Systems. I started in the industry at Objet back in 2007. I am punishing myself in completing a master's in architecture at the same time at the moment. And I just see myself as a problem solver, really, at the end of the day. Whether it's customers coming to me with, love this about your technology, but I really need to be able to do this, and how do we solve that? I've put some photos because it's probably started with many dogs. It is definitely a big part of my life. I work in rescue, and so the top three are my little pooches, and I threw in a foster pup at the end because I tend to bring all my fosters into the office, and it's sort of a running joke of who am I going to adopt next. So I wanted to throw this slide in here because it brings us back to how this all came to be in the first place. So Chuck Hull is considered the father of 3D printing, and he still works for us at 3D Systems. And if you've ever had the pleasure of meeting him or hearing him speak, he's actually a really humble, sweet guy who just considers himself an engineer at heart. And if you ask him about how this came to be, it was really about a frustration that he was having in terms of idea in head, need part in hand. And there was no cost-effective, fast solution for that at the time. And so that little piece in the middle there is actually the first 3D printed part. So looking at this sort of wave, even just in the last 10 years that I've been involved with this, we've seen this progression that started with really just being able to get idea part in hand with a prototype, moving into what we would call indirect manufacturing, so say using 3D printed parts to get into casting applications. The dental industry is a perfect example of custom manufacturing, then moving into complex manufacturing, such as we are seeing 3D printed metal parts in airplanes today. It enables us to reduce material, which reduces weight, which is a really good thing if you're flying in a tube in the air. And finishing up with 3D production. So that's really what it's about. It's about getting to that point where we are 3D printing end-use parts. And that's where we're starting to see things go today. So Chuck, I think, just said this in an interview at some point, and we latched onto it within 3D. He's sort of our Yoda. And he was just very charismatic in terms of like, well, I tend to invent things. And he still sits around in what they call the Chuck Garage to discuss how can we get innovation moving forward? What is the next step in 3D printing? So that leads me to a couple of the stories that I've had the pleasure of working with while I've been at 3D. And these are the ones that have really touched me. And so I wanted to share them with you and hope that you guys get the same feeling out of it that I did. So this is one example where Natasha Simpson was a student up in Nova Scotia, and she got into a terrible car accident and ended up losing one of her legs. And in the midst of that devastation and knowing her life had been changed forever, there was two things that came to light. One, she's an artist, and she was not super excited about the existing prosthetic devices that were out there today. And she wanted to be able to have her own imprint on it. She wanted to be able to have a connection to what is now going to be part of her forever. So it was actually a teacher that encouraged her to get one designed and printed within 2 weeks. And she did it. I actually got a call in the middle of the week from a partner up in Canada asking me, can we get this printed within the next day and a half? And I thought he was talking about something like 4 to 6 inches, like nothing, and then I get a leg. But being able to watch this woman, and if you ever get a chance to Google her and look at her speak, it's a very moving story. And it's something that a lot of people face today. It's a very big process to go through getting a prosthetic device fitted for you. So, Monash University. This is just, I love this story. So, this all started with, because of the Ebola outbreak in Liberia. And through many minds coming together, but this was really the champion, was Paul, in terms of replacing the use of cadavers with 3D printed ones. And so that piece over there is actually 100% 3D printed. Unbelievable use of the technology. So if you had to think about, I had never thought about it before, but in countries where, whether there's a disease that has broken out, it gets very troublesome to get safe cadavers that can be used in medical schools. Also, there's a lot of regulation in terms of the process. Storage is an issue, shipping is an issue. So he got this grand idea to be able to replace that with 3D printed ones. So to be able to see students coming together and being able to reopen their school was an unbelievable story to not only hear, to be part of. I still talk to him on Skype today just because he's doing amazing, cool things, and he's still sharing this. So this brings us to, it all started with a dog. So I don't know if any of you have ever watched, there's this Derby video that's circulating around. If you Google Derby the dog, it'll come up. So I will tell the story about that. But just to give a little refresher, this is not the whole video. Derby the dog. So that was Derby. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I work in foster and or work in rescue rather, and I foster pups on occasion. And Derby came up as a dog that was needing a foster home, and clearly he was born with a deformity. And I looked at his photo probably 27 times and finally contacted the head of the rescue and was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but yes, I will foster him. I will look after him. He's adorable. Oh my goodness. So that's how it started. It really was not until a couple of weeks later that I was like, well, maybe I can take a stab at designing him something. I mean, surely I've got software, I've got printers. Surely I can come up with something. I had no idea what I was getting myself into at the time because I'm not a prosthetic device inventor in any type of way. But it was an amazing process to be part of because it was this rare moment in my life where I got to bring all my passions together. So I had a dog, I got to design something, and it was using the technology that I have made my entire career. So we started with a process of evaluating him with Dr. Bliss up in New Hampshire to see if he's really even a candidate. And so they're just looking for basically at their geometry to see if they really be a good candidate for being able to even wear prosthetics. Next came a process of, we had him CAT scanned. And so we took that data, that DICOM data, and converted it to 3D data. So that's in the second part. And that's what we used to really understand exactly what his custom geometry was so that we could build around it. There were several iterations. That one ended up working, and it really just came out of watching him trying to walk in a pair that wasn't working and sketching something out and getting back to the office and working to get them designed in, I used freeform, got them printed out, send it down the pair to the family that had adopted him at this point. to try them on. And I was so not convinced that it would work, I actually didn't fly down there for that one. And I get a call in the morning, and everybody's kind of screaming in the background that he's running down the street. Needless to say, it was very sad. I didn't actually make that trip down there. But it was just an awesome experience to be part of. And it really proved that this technology is, while it'll grow and continue to get better, the materials will continue to improve, it's really about being able to bring that idea to life, whatever it is. So that's all I really had to say today, folks. I hope that 3D printing continues to empower designers and problem solvers, because it has certainly made for an amazing adventure so far, and I can't wait to find out what other customers are doing in the future. Thank you very much.